And we hit the button. Here we go. We are live. Together, we got both of us here today. You got myself, Steve Metrics, and over there you got your boy,
DJ Triggs.
Boom. And together we're here. We are No Debate Sports. And boom, we are flipped to the correct side of our screens. We're looking sharp. That's how we do it. We got a show. We press the buttons. Boom, we're here. So how about that, everyone? Big thing going on yesterday, and something cool we want to focus on and do a little more of a deep dive into was that Jets Chargers game. Granted, not the most truly offensive kind of game, but there was some certain things to it that if you saw us last week, those kind of scenarios or simulations almost actually came to fruition. So it was interesting seeing those things from the game last night. What do you think about that, Triggs?
Oh man, that game was a nightmare. An absolute nightmare.
Absolutely.
Like the Jets can't do anything offensively, and it all leads to the quarterback.
It does. It totally does. That's exactly how their team works on offense. And unfortunately, I think it is going to have devastating effects to that defense. The fact that they can't, no one's taking them seriously on the offensive side. I think a lot of this yardage from Zach Wilson comes out of garbage time, but they know that, okay, great, deal with Garrett Wilson. Shut down the run every now and then, make sure they don't get too wild out of the backfield with Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook, and that's it. They have absolutely nothing else beyond that.
Yeah, it's really sad. Like, just it shows how much worth. I know we were talking about running back contracts a really long time ago, but it shows the worth of having an absolute like not even stud, but just a starter quarterback in the NFL. Like, you don't need like a superstar, but you need someone that can actually go out there and just be a starter. Like, there's so many teams that we're seeing now where like the Giants, the Jets, the Vikings, you could throw Atlanta in there, Tampa Bay, like Arizona. So many of these teams are so bad because they have no quarterback or they have no future at quarterback, and they're just throwing things at the wall now. I mean, look at Arizona. Dobbs gets like traded. Well, they benched him first. Then they trade him. He goes to Minnesota and like lights it up. And you're like, oh, whoops.
Exactly. I think when you got nothing to show for it, plus you kind of have things moving in the right direction. I know they're not a good looking team, wins, losses, and the secondary is beat up, but there are some pluses going to that team. I just don't think Arizona is the worst team in the NFL. Maybe now after trading Josh Dobbs, that's going to be the case, but I still think there's more positives that I see with a team like Arizona than a team like the New York Giants. I just don't. We just played against them, me and my Raiders. I don't see any future out of the New York Giants with Tommy DeVito.
No, and yeah, they're in a weird like situation because with Daniel Jones being there, like, and now he's hurt, it's insane. Like, they just paid this dude 40 plus million, and now he's hurt and they have to pay him, and like they don't have anyone behind him because they paid him, but everyone in the entire like NFL knew he was bad.
Yeah.
So like, it sucks that he got hurt, but he's not good. So like,
exactly,
paying him that much, and now there's talks of them drafting a quarterback because they're going to be really bad.
Oh, absolutely. They're going to be horrendous. And even for as bad as we are against the run, we still stopped Saquon Barkley and took care of him later in that game. But there's really nothing going on with the Giants. And when it came to that Daniel Jones contract too, they were negotiating against themselves. This wasn't a, oh man, someone's going to go out there, they're going to swoop up Daniel Jones. When it came to us, I know we actually ranked Daniel Jones fairly highly from based off his performances last year. And it was impressive. And there were times where you watch him play last year where he was impressive. It looked like he was developing. I don't think it would be to the point that I want to strap that much amount of money on it. But then we also found out that when it came to Daniel Jones, that he wanted his money so much that he never even cared about the time of day for the contract negotiations of Saquon Barkley. It was all about him getting that money, which he did, but now he's on the hook for it, and probably his NFL career as a starter is over.
Yeah, but hey, at least he gets paid, right?
Exactly.
That's so bad, man. I know, like, completely different sport, but it's just kind of like the same scenario with James Harden, who just got like his first start of the year, and it's like these guys go and they're banging like, oh, I need my money, and then when they don't have a job or they're the fourth option on a team, like now they whine because they were the ones that went and got their money. And in the Giants situation, like they paid this guy who's not a good quarterback by any means, and then they sit there and whine, oh, we're losing, and it's the quarterback's fault. Well, you're the one that signed him, so like whose fault is it?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at a guy like Daniel Jones, who is coming off that rookie contract, and the fact too with him, he was drafted in the first round, correct? Going back to the draft that he came out of, I think he was taken, I want to say like 6th overall, something like that.
Let me check here really quick.
Yeah, because I know the hang up with him was that was a draft that was highly defensive, and that had some really good prospects coming out of it. I want to say like Myles Garrett might have been available, and they passed on him and went with Daniel Jones, the one only quarterback who really went for, I think, at least 2-3 rounds. It was a very bad looking quarterback draft. So already out of the gates, you had that. Then Daniel Jones gets selected, and he had, if that's true, if he is a first round draft pick, he has somewhat good money for his career. But now basically he took that money and just flat out doubled it, I'm presuming, with the contract that he just signed. So he's doing that. Is it?
Yeah, he was the number 6 pick. Okay. I'll just name a couple players that went behind him or after him. Josh Allen, the linebacker from the Jaguars.
He's so good, man.
Yeah.
He's like a number 1 pick. He's like truly that good.
Here's another one that's so good. TJ Hawkinson.
Okay.
If you're a Packers fan, Rashawn Gary.
Okay.
There's Dexter Lawrence, the tackle that plays for the Giants.
Sure. Yeah, he's really good, actually.
Your boy Josh Jacobs.
Ooh, interesting.
Montez Sweat.
Oh, and Montez Sweat, we all know, would have been even higher up, but he actually had that health discovery of his heart. Kind of like, I do want to say there's a certain player who's not playing in the NFL right now because of a similar issue. But Montez Sweat was of that, and I think Montez Sweat was going to go top 3, something like that, and then he fell all the way to round 2 because of that.
Well, late round one.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Interesting.
And then here's a couple more. These are second rounders, so I won't give them too much credit. But Deebo Samuel.
Oh wow.
Elton Jenkins, the All-Pro guard for the Packers.
Okay.
AJ Brown, Miles Sanders. Just saying, DK Metcalf. They missed out on a lot of guys. Yeah.
Yeesh.
Absolutely.
Yeah, DK Metcalf looked insane coming out of college. I can understand the pass on AJ Brown because the AJ Brown of today does look different than the AJ Brown coming out of college. So I understand that, but man, DK Metcalf is miles beyond better than Daniel Jones.
I'll give you some more credit here, and this will be the last one.
Yep.
Fourth round pick, so everybody passed on him.
Yeah.
Max Crosby.
Oh, it's that draft.
Yeah.
Oh my. There you go. Out of Eastern Michigan, Yasplente. That's how you do it, man. That is some good stuff.
Hunter Renfrow too? Same draft? What? Wow, you
Yeah.
Raiders, what is going on there?
That was a good draft. That was an absolute good draft. I want to say that was the year before Trevor Lawrence comes into the league, I think, because I think Hunter Renfrow goes in and then Trevor Lawrence goes into the league. And the pairing that those two guys had was absolutely insane. So we'll see what my Raiders do tactically moving forward with Hunter Renfrow, but that's always something that I think Jacksonville is kicking around, that if they can somehow one day whip up a deal to get Renfrow from the Raiders, they totally hop on that. The chemistry those two guys have is insane, absolutely insane. That's a phenomenal draft.
Yeah, like I'm just like cycling through some of these wide receivers, and I'm just like, holy cow. Trevor Lawrence was 2 drafts later, or not the next year, but the year after.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Because he's 2021 and this is 2019.
Gotcha.
Man, that's insane. That is.
Yeah, it's an insane draft. I know New York was very upset that they took Daniel Jones and not a defensive player when they were coming off of one of the worst defensive seasons they've ever had. So that was a real bummer that it went in that direction. But I just think Daniel Jones is another one of these guys who is in the league trying to chase as much money as he can. The other thing too that you got to bring up with a player like him, that I think he had more insecurity about his NFL future moving forward than Saquon Barkley did, because Saquon just looks like a beast. I know he's had some tough injuries as well, but Saquon looks like a beast. I think he's a really great running back that's had some bad luck, but he's the kind of guy that I still feel can cut on a dime. I don't think he's at a Josh Jacobs level, but I think he's close. And I think he's confident about his future moving forward, no matter what. And I think now he's actually on a 2-year, $16 million deal a year. Or no, actually it's 13. I think it's 13 million each moving forward, which for him, he's fine with. But at Daniel Jones, you're basically either going to be a $40 million quarterback, or you're going to be a $20 million quarterback moving forward. And with Daniel Jones, his play's been good, really good for the Brian Dable season, really bad the year before that. So I think he's the kind of guy that he's looking to get that payday ASAP. And also the fact that these NFL players only get the paychecks in the regular season. The rest of a calendar year, granted, they make a ton of money, but seeing zilch going into your paycheck is pretty tough year after year. So that is a scary thing that I know they make a lot of money, but still that's something that nobody can really take lightly, and you gotta respect that for sure. So that's an interesting situation there. But I do wonder how things would go differently. But it looks like the Giants are just totally breaking down from the way they were last season.
Yeah, I mean, their wide receiver core is pretty bad. You thought the trade with the Raiders getting Waller was gonna like at least help Daniel Jones, and like that's not really doing very much. Yeah. And the defense is basically meh. And I mean, you kind of expected that, I guess, with Dallas and Philadelphia in the same division, but like they're not even close. Like it's a really big gap.
Yeah. And I know he's young, but I do like I love Jalen Hyatt. I really like Mikael Hodgins, and Darius Slayton I think is good too, but we're just seeing that them being so bad at quarterback really takes the luster off of the other receivers. And we see this for some of the other teams like the Jets or the Steelers as well, where you probably actually have some good targets, but the guy cannot get the ball to him. Look at Houston and their they got guys. They got Tank Dell. They got your guy. I'm blanking on the name. Nico Collins.
Yep,
They got
Nico
Tank Dell.
Collins.
They got Nico Collins. Those guys are crazy. And then they got two other guys who are starting to put up the numbers as well. But when I look at it, yeah, I like Tank Dell. I like Nico Collins. But do I think that at the top of the top, that is that much different than a Jalen Hyatt and Mikael Hodgins? I don't think so. I really don't think it's that much of a gap. Maybe the other two players we'll see, but it just shows you that your quarterback dictates a ton of that production. And looking at CJ Stroud compared to any of the three quarterbacks on the Giants, he is miles ahead of all three of those quarterbacks on the Giants. As much as I love Tyrod Taylor, it's just not happening.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I don't know.
Yeah.
The Giants they're done. They're done. So
Yeah, and it's weird because I feel like that's a dichotomy that's going on with that team where it feels like they turn on a switch. When they turn that switch on, they're the best. They're like one of the best in the NFL. Their defense is kicking on all cylinders. They have a somewhat stable offense, but when it's off, they're terrible. Steve Spagnuolo was a head coach there, just an utter disaster. And then really just the way that the Giants were pretty much ever since then, it's been rough. They have not really been able to replace that the spot that was there when Tom Coughlin was really making that team cook. So just not happening. Just a real tough swing of things for the Giants these days.
yeah, I mean their run game is like top 10, and their pass game is literally last in the NFL. I believe their points per game is like 11 or 12. Like,
yeah, they don't score points.
Yeah, the difference between them and the next team, so they're 32nd and New England's 31st, and it's like 5 points. Like that's a big difference in scoring.
Wow, yeah, that's pretty crazy. And you just remember week one when people were actually predicting that the Giants could pull the upset against Dallas. I was even in that boat as well. And they just got smoked by Dallas. That was like a 30-40 point game to 0. And that really should have been the eye opener for all of us that this team is really in dire straits from day one.
Let's see if I can go back and find some of those picks.
Yeah, exactly.
What we had.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's there's some good.
You actually had them as a wild card team.
Yeah, that shows you how much I actually liked them from the previous season. But now moving forward, they're just done. They are totally done on offense. Losing Waller, losing both quarterbacks, that does it. That's their bread and butter to make any kind of threat in the air game now, and it's just not going to happen. It's really rough moving forward.
Yeah. Fun stuff there.
Yeah, totally. And I thought they would have a better defense too, but like we always say, if you cannot keep that defense off the field with your offense, and your offense keeps going 3 and out, then your defense comes out, and then your defense will be one of the worst defenses in the league. So that's exactly what we're talking about here at No Debate Sports, and that's what we're looking at. So with that, what else we got, Triggs? We got any big things to talk about?
Oh, I was gonna say, I know you wanted to talk about the NBA in-season tournament. You were asking me about that.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
It is. I actually think it's pretty cool. Like when they first announced it, I was like, whatever. It sounds like something like FIFA would do in Europe and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then like once I saw like they brought out these like cool courts, and every like home team in the tournament, or like so the breakdown of the tournament is like I think it's every Tuesday and Friday of November. Okay. You play the teams in your bracket, and
Sure.
there's so they split it into East and West, and then there's 3 separate brackets in each one. Let me pull up the teams here. That'll make it easier for me to speak on how the brackets are broken down. So
Yep.
there's 5 teams in each bracket. So you play every single one for one time. So it's the 4 weeks of November. And then once you get through that, each team in each bracket, I guess, they whoever has the highest standings, the most wins. And if there's a tie, it's point differential, which is
Sure.
pretty cool. But then that team goes on to an 8-team single elimination tournament where it's like the 3 highest win percentages, and then a wild card team, and then the East is on one side and West is on the other, obviously. And then you play single elimination during like December. Then they go to Vegas and they do the semifinals and the finals. And on top of that, each one of these games actually lines up in your schedule. So they do count for your wins on the actual standings for the entire league. So, except the championship game. But the great part about the championship game, each player on the winning team gets $500,000.
Okay.
Which
That's cool.
doesn't sound like a lot, but if you break it down that like guys are making like 40 million, let's say like 40, 50 million a season for a year, like, and you put that through 82 games, that $500,000 is like, that is pretty much a paycheck, like a game check for like a top level player. So now think about being, the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th guy, and you're getting a $500,000 check for one game.
Yes.
That is bank.
Interesting. Yeah, absolutely. That is definitely true. My question about that, though, is if that's the case and they're playing this bracket playoff scenario in season, how does that match up with all the games that every other team plays?
What do you mean? Everybody's in the tournament.
Right, but is everyone going to finish the season with the same amount of games played,
Mm-hmm.
including the team that actually reaches the championship of that in-season tournament?
The way I think they're doing it is so like you'll play those guys, the group, and that'll be like everyone will get 4 games or whatever. And
Yeah.
then once you get to the quarterfinals, they're going to line it up so that when you play the teams in the bracket, the other teams will be playing each other. So it'll kind of even out.
Okay. All right. I think this is going to have to be a something that I'm going to have to see as it happens live to understand it. It's wild.
Yeah.
I love math. I love seeing things play out like this. I love building schedules and strength of schedules and tiebreakers and all that jazz. But this is something, for whatever reason, I can't wrap my head around. And when it comes to that kind of stuff, whether it's in engineering, science, or math, that I have to just see it and experience it and take more reps out of it, I guess.
Right. And that's why I made a video on it, because at first I was kind of like, like, and like I said, I wasn't really into it. I was like, all right, whatever. They're just doing some gimmick to make money. And like, then once I seen like Adam Silver was on ESPN, I want to say,
Yeah.
and like
Good Morning
he
America,
broke,
too.
yeah, maybe it was Good Morning America. Maybe it was
Yeah.
like, and he broke it down, and I was like, oh. And then he said $500,000 to each player. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because
That's
at
real
first
money.
I kind of thought that like guys would just brush it off and be like, oh, whatever, it's just another game in December and November or whatever. And
Yeah.
like once I heard that $500,000, I was like, oh, these guys are gonna go all out. Like that's a buttload of money. And the coaches get it
Absolutely.
too. I think they
Oh,
get like
wow.
250,000, I want to say. So
Still
like,
bank.
yeah, especially for a 1 game check, like that's,
Totally.
and I actually, so like when I made like my predictions for it, I
Yeah.
was kind of thinking like, okay, guys are going to want to win this for legacy. So I thought
Yes.
about like a LeBron James or a Steph Curry or, stuff like that. And I
Yep.
was like, and then there's going to be guys that are like, maybe on like a rookie deal that are trying to like build themselves up and
Yeah.
maybe wanting to win this. And I was like, okay. Then I was looking at teams like the Sixers who, have all this drama going on, and then they got rid of James Harden, and like they're gonna be pushing to be like, okay, let's see what we can do.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I'm pretty excited about it. And then once they go to Vegas and play like the semifinals and
Right.
the finals, I'm like, ooh, this will be exciting.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be interesting, and I mean, I know there's a lot of talk about James Harden moving on and whatnot, but I actually saw the Clippers starters, the starting five, and then the second team starting five. The Clippers look real, man. That is a real looking squad. I don't know how far you got them going in your tournament, or what do you think with the postseason with them? I know there's been some criticism, obviously, for James Harden, but boy, looking at that starting five and then the secondary five coming after that, that's a roster they got there.
Yeah, like on paper, it looks really good. And kind of what happened in the game against New York is kind of what I thought would happen.
Yeah,
So they're going to need a lot of coaching. And I mean, they got Ty Lue over there. So, like,
right. He's
at
great.
least, yeah, he's a really good coach. And he's had superstars on, like, he coached that Cleveland team. So,
Totally.
like, he understands how to stagger players. And I think this first game, you could tell like the four of those stars, not saying their games are identical, but they're high usage players. And Westbrook likes to bring up the ball. Paul George likes to bring up the ball. James Harden likes to have the ball in his hand. I think Kawhi might be the perfect like complement to each one of those guys. And I don't know if you were watching Clippers basketball before Harden got there, but they were gelling. Like Westbrook was doing Westbrook things, and then he would move the ball and get it to like a wide open Kawhi and Kawhi works a lot in the mid range, and then Paul George could come off the wing, and like they were looking really nice. And now
Yeah,
adding Harden, you could tell he didn't fit. Like he was
right.
really awkward.
Yeah, and there was even a stretch last season where for about a week or a month or so, you could see that Paul George was fully healthy and he was playing at the level
Mhm.
that he was basically the best player in the entire NBA at that time.
Yeah. Like when they led into the playoffs, like remember they took was it the Suns? I can't remember what team they or maybe it was the Nuggets. They took one of the like top teams and literally almost put them out. And then Kawhi got hurt. Or
Yes.
like Kawhi stopped playing. I don't know if
Yeah.
he was actually hurt. I don't know what happened,
Yeah, he
but
was
like
banged up. Yeah, he
yeah.
was definitely banged up.
But you could
Yeah.
tell he was like banged up for a lot of the playoffs, and all of a sudden it was just like, oh, Kawhi's not playing today. And
Right.
everyone's like, okay, he's taking a game off, and then he just never came back.
Exactly, exactly. That's kind of the way that things fell with that. But yeah, once he went down, that was basically it for the Clippers.
Yeah, but yeah, just a spoiler alert. I actually have the Celtics winning the in-season tournament. They they look so good. Like the addition of Drew Holiday, and I've been saying this for years, basically for whenever Tatum and Brown like started becoming stars, they needed a point guard. And like Drew Holiday is the perfect point guard. Like even when he was with the Bucks, like he doesn't need the ball. Plus, he's not going to give up on defense. Like there's a lot of guys if they don't get the ball on offense, they're just not going to play defense. And then you're kind of like, oh, okay, I guess we have to give this whining guy the ball. Drew Holiday is not even close to that. Like, oh, they look so good.
Absolutely, and I think too, bringing in Kristaps Porzingis, having that
Yeah.
Monstar center, And now just seeing his look with the Celtics looks different. It's different than seeing him on the Wizards. It's different than in Dallas, and it's different than when he started with New York. Something about him looks more mature. It looks more confident. It looks more intimidating with him going to the hoop. It's a different style of Kristaps Porzingis. And now the fact that he has this perimeter shooting surrounding him is a massive threat. And like we're seeing in Tennessee in the NFL with the Titans, like Will Levis has that big arm. What does that do? Open up Derrick Henry. So when you have those shooters, it really opens up for the big, powerful monster guy coming down the center. So I love what Boston has, and I actually have them winning it all this season.
What I was thinking when you said that is like, and you were saying there's something different about him. Yeah. There's no pressure. He's literally the fourth option on the team. If you want to count him as the fourth op. I mean, you got Tatum, Brown. I would put Drew Holiday in front of him. And then
really
Derek White even does his thing sometimes. So like he literally has no pressure on him. All he has to do is go out there and just be a five. Like it's kind of like Al Horford, right? When Horford came over there, all he did was play defense, hit some threes, and everyone's like, oh, man, Al Horford's the man. Like, he's the Giannis stopper. And it's like, Porzingis, all he has to do is just be 7 foot, what is he, 7'3", something like that.
Yeah, it's scary. It's even bigger than Horford.
And just shoot some threes. Like, but he does more. I mean, he's obviously a way better player than Al Horford is. But, like, the fifth best player or fourth best player on the other team is guarding you. Like, he's going to shred that guy.
Absolutely. That's what it's going to take. And plus, in the Eastern Conference, there aren't as many big, intimidating threats as there are out west. So I think in the East, he's going to really have his way. The only obvious big obstacles out East are going to be Giannis, Bam Adebayo, and then up north, Pascal Siakam with the Raptors. I think that's about it.
They're not even that, like, Pascal's not even that big, though. And, like, I would say Brooke Lopez would probably be his, like, nemesis with the Bucks.
Absolutely.
But, like, Bam is only, 6'9" at tops?
Right.
Like,
he's got more of, like, a LeBron build to him.
Yeah. And he's bouncy, but, like, Porzingis, so, like, and that's what I talk about with Boston is, like, so a Giannis or a Bam or like a Pascal Siakam is perfect. Like they guard Jason Tatum now. Like, and so you're literally leaving Porzingis on, I'm trying to think, I don't even remember who's the Jakob Poeltl or somebody like that. Like, you're like, oh, this big, bulky, like center who just wants to go bang bodies. Well, Porzingis is going to take that guy out to the three and just completely shred him. And if you put a guy like a Bam or a Siakam or like a Julius Randle or a Isaiah, Hartenstein, like that guy, those guys don't have a chance inside because they're not tall enough and they're not big enough. Like Boston's a problem. They are a problem. Yeah. If they're healthy, they're going to be a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I like what they got there. Plus, seeing their whole coaching structure over the last handful of years has been really, really solid with the new guy they have now, the coach that they sent packing, and then Brad Stevens before that. I really love the structure they got going with the Celtics.
Yeah, they're an awkward bunch, but it works out when you have two superstar players on your wing dropping like 30 a game.
Absolutely, and I think losing Marcus Smart hurt, but bringing in Drew Holiday, that is a total upgrade. That really is changing things. It's changing the culture. It's changing just the overall momentum of that team. How he can play oppressive defense as well, but he can score. Drew Holiday can be a serious scorer in games. So that team is really cool looking.
Yeah, you're talking like. I know people talk about Marcus Smart. I think he's a bit overrated and probably shouldn't have been Defensive Player of the Year. But, like, Drew Holiday can give you 15 to 20 every night.
Yes.
If you're like, hey, Drew, like, there was times where Giannis was hurt and, like, they're like, Drew, go carry the team, and he could put up 30.
Yep.
Marcus Smart, yeah, he can give you one of those games like every 10 games or so, but not consistently.
No, it's tough. And even coming out of college, Marcus Smart was more of a defensive-oriented player. I want to say Oklahoma State. It was that. And in college, you don't need to score as many points either. So it just hasn't been anywhere close to the level that Drew Holiday can score at.
Yeah, he was. I mean, like in college, he was a solid scorer, but like when he got drafted, he was almost a bust. Like, until they figured out like he could lock people up a little bit. Like, it was like, ooh, okay, this guy's probably not going to be in the league very much.
Exactly. So, yeah, that was a little rough start to Smart, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it is in Memphis, and yeah, that's a team I don't like, but it is what it is. So we got that. We got Boston. We got that covered, and we're getting there. So we got some good stuff for a show today. We got a few more things we'll get to before we're out of here, and we'll bring back over to football now. So yeah, I think it's about time that we I think we got to bring up the greatest segment in sports. What do you think about that, Triggs?
Oh, I was not ready for that, but yes, I have it up. Let me pop up the. That's funny. Let me pop the my notes up and. There it is. Boom.
Oh my goodness.
The 5 up for no debate. Like, what is happening here? This is nuts. So I'm ready for you. I got number 1 on the list. We got CJ Stroud coming out like dropping 50 bombs. Like, this dude is going insane with touchdowns and yards. And so do we trust him as a top 10 quarterback in fantasy the rest of the way?
I put it this too. He's now showing that Jalen Hurts-esque hockey stick growth of what I saw going into last season. I think at this point, top 10 in the NFL. Boy, we can already say there's about 16 quarterbacks in the league that are kind of So is he already top 16? Yeah. Is he better than 6 of those others? I think so. And considering how well he controls and possesses the ball and isn't a turnover machine like a Mahomes or a Josh Allen. And I mean, boy, does he have more explosive ability than Josh Allen even? He might. He just might. Is he better than Mahomes? Yeah. At this point, he's definitely better than Mahomes. Just his athleticism, his pinpoint accuracy, the fact that he can take the top off of defense. Mahomes can't. Mahomes is Russell Wilson now. That's what I see out of CJ Stroud. Stroud is an excellent NFL quarterback. And at this point, moving into next season, I fully consider him, he absolutely needs to be one of the top 5 quarterbacks taken in general. And that now puts him at a value, I think, of round 2, maybe round 3. If he drops to round 3, I don't know, especially in the league that you and I play in, we'll see. But I only think the sky's the limit for CJ Stroud moving forward. He can only get better with a better offensive line, more of a running game threat. Granted, there will start to be tape coming up on him that teams will start to dissect and utilize against him and utilize that data. But I think this is a guy that perseveres. He's just really smart, very mild-headed, and that's what it takes. I've ever since the Ohio State, the end of his college career, it just seems like this is a very mature, driven, and focused player.
All right, listen to this schedule. Cincinnati, Arizona, Jacksonville, Denver, the Jets, Tennessee, Cleveland, Tennessee, Indy.
So minus the Cleveland game, we'll just give him a bye that week.
Yeah.
All the other games, he's just gonna throw for another 300-400 yards, and he'll finish the season as the NFL MVP. That's insane. That's It's just an insane schedule. It is nothing but no secondary.
If he could put together, like, listen to these numbers. This is how insane this is. The guy he's throwing for 283 yards a game, 14 touchdowns, one interception. That is insane.
Oh my. Yeah. Your guy, Lamar Jackson, who I'll tell you this. I saw him play the other day. That game put me to sleep. I don't get what's going on with Baltimore. I know they have a 7-2 record, but this is a weird team. Your guy, Lamar Jackson, only has 9 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. And it's Sleep City, man. It is boring. It is weird. There's got to be more to this offense in order to truly win going deep into the season. I just don't see it. When I look at Houston, that team is terrifying. They can score on you. They can play defense. That team is really scary. Is it good enough to make the playoffs, considering they got a bad loss here and there? But there's teams like the Texans, the Raiders, the Titans, who are probably 1.5 to 2 games back that look better than some of these teams like the Chiefs, even the offensive side of Baltimore. I think half of the AFC North is not going to make it. I think we're going to see Pittsburgh fall back, and we're going to see either Cleveland or Baltimore probably not make it. So it's going to be weird moving forward. But these teams like Houston, holy smokes, CJ Stroud is totally different. And it's very eerily reminiscent of what Deshaun Watson was his rookie year and what we thought we could have seen moving forward. Deshaun Watson's rookie year, he was on pace to be the NFL MVP. Let's see if CJ Stroud could replicate that. And looking at the schedule that you just presented, Triggs, he has the building blocks and the formulation in place to make that happen.
Awesome. So we're just going to stay on Houston for a second. So Devin Singletary is owned in only 49% of leagues. But he's starting to take over on carries. He had 13 against Tampa. Do we pick up Singletary for the rest of the season?
Oh boy, if you gotta, you gotta do what you gotta do. If you see that he is truly taking over for Dameon Pierce, and knowing how much of a threat that CJ Stroud is, that only opens the door for a guy like that. I saw that going into last season. I thought that Jonathan Taylor and Josh Jacobs would both have that ability because they both had bigger armed quarterbacks really doing things, whether it was Matt Ryan or Derek Carr. It didn't really happen with Matt Ryan, but it did happen with Derek Carr. So seeing that big arm quarterback really, really helps out your running back. And especially now what's going on with Derrick Henry, that's an awesome situation. And it's starting to trickle into Josh Jacobs as well. So yeah, if you can get him, if you need it, take it. Take Devin Singletary.
Awesome.
I can tell you this. I'm real quick. I'm an owner of both of the LA Rams running backs. And this was the week that they were supposed to do their duty, do their job, and hit pay dirt against the Green Bay Packers, who can't stop the run worth a darn. And both of them were a complete disappointment. I'm done with these. I'm done with these Rams running backs. I built up that strategy for the long term, thinking that this could actually develop into something. I know there's no Matt Stafford, but I am done. That strategy was a failure. And in life, to move forward, you're going to fail. You're going to have to admit it, and you're going to learn from it and move forward. I can tell you that both those Rams running backs, the only Rams running back you can truly count on, and it's going to take time for him to come back, is Kyren Williams. Don't trust the other ones. And in all honesty, I don't even think they're worth a handcuff. I tried it. I tried both these guys thinking, oh, cool, I got one, I got the other, I got the handcuff. Maybe I can dual action them both on a given week. Don't do it. Just go Kyren Williams, and if he's out, he's out.
All right. So we're going to go to another running back. This one may be a DJ Trigg special here.
Ooh, there you go.
So this guy ranks 34th in running backs. Do we start Aaron Jones, set it and forget it starter for the rest of the season?
Well, and this is the thing too, it really, with a guy like that, we know it's a hamstring issue. We know that there is some kind of stuff going on with the offense. We know that the offense is 100% integrated through Aaron Jones. When he's out there, that offense looks different. When he's not, totally doesn't exist. It is exactly like the Saquon Barkley effect that's going on with the Giants. So is this a start and play the rest of the way? And he's a great tailback. He might be one of the greatest tailbacks in the NFL alongside Alvin Kamara, alongside Christian McCaffrey, even looking at what Jonathan Taylor is doing now. He's great. He truly is. And he can deliver on all of that without having very little production on the ground as a traditional running back. It's very unique. It's very interesting what he is. And you really got to play it, I think. And I think this is maybe a courtship where you have to understand this offense and you have to understand how can Jordan Love pick and tick like his way around the field to just kind of meticulously work his way downfield. And if he can do that, if you see that there is a path to victory for that kind of scenario, then Aaron Jones, regardless, is that kind of guy. If you don't see it happening, if you feel that this is a team, what I could really see, and I maybe it is on your schedule, actually. It is. But if the Packers were to play a team like the Chiefs, a team that brings a house of pressure, that I think is a recipe for disaster. Then in that case, I would be ready to not go to Aaron Jones. That's what I really want to look at is how do some of these players and teams work when it's against a team that is notorious for bringing pressure and bringing the house? And that is the MO of a Steve Spagnuolo, kind of Brian Flores kind of offense or defense. So, yeah, what do you think about that, Triggs?
Packers are horrible against the blitz.
Yeah. Yeah. Hate to see that, but that's true. So that is exactly what you need to look for Aaron Jones. Not necessarily the running matchups, not necessarily the pass catching matchups, but just look at how they are against the blitz. If it's a team that they can live and fight another day against that doesn't bring the house, then go with Aaron Jones. If it's a Spagnuolo-esque, Flores-esque kind of defense, stay away.
So I know I didn't get to rant yesterday about the Packers.
I miss a good rant. And I miss a good rant with you winning as well.
So you know how much I dislike A.J. Dillon getting carries. Aaron Jones had 20 carries yesterday for the first time all season. And look at that. They won a football game.
Wow.
And on top of that, the Rams are actually in the bottom half of rush defense. Guess who they're playing this week? Do you know? San
Francisco?
No, they're playing Pittsburgh, who, by the way, are ranked 29th against the run. You start Aaron Jones Sunday, and you set it and forget it.
Yeah, that's the thing. But this is a Pittsburgh team that will bring the house. I just saw it last Thursday against Tennessee.
Yeah.
I know you can definitely run against Pittsburgh, especially against a team like that. I think that is where I draw the line. And yeah, I'm going to have to draw the line on that. That's where I'd be very cautious against a Pittsburgh team. And Derrick Henry is totally different than Aaron Jones. So I don't see that. So I think maybe an A.J. Dillon, maybe, but an Aaron Jones, I just don't feel it. And the thing is, too, against Pittsburgh, let's really consider that Aaron Jones, if we go back to that game on Thursday, who does Aaron Jones imitate? Aaron Jones is Tajay Spears, if we're looking at the Tennessee side of the ball. Tajay Spears did squat. So he had some cool plays lining up outside. I expect that out of Aaron Jones this week, but that's pretty much what we're looking at now. We're looking at a slightly better version of Tajay Spears in this matchup. And if they were already making Will Levis's head spin, and Will Levis is definitely better than Jordan Love, I think they're going to do the exact same thing against Jordan Love this week.
We're going to talk about that one later.
There we go.
Right. So, this is number 4. I'll speed through this one.
Oh, okay.
Johan Dotson. Do you pick him up and run with him?
Yeah, actually, I feel like this is something that I was 2 weeks late to the chase on, and I know you're bringing it up here now, but there was a point 2 weeks ago where Curtis Samuel was banged up. Sam Howell was yet to begin his string of throwing for essentially 800 yards in 2 weeks now. That was the beginning of it, and that was the point in time to pick up Jahan Dotson. It was very bizarre seeing him sit there on the waiver wire, considering we just know how great Jahan Dotson is. Go back all the way to him at Penn State. He is still that same guy with the Washington Commanders, and to me, I even think he's better than Terry McLaurin. He's even challenging him. He's doing more things. I think Jahan Dotson just has a different kind of twitch to him that is even truly better than Scary Terry. So, yo boy, Johan Dotson, that's a guy you got to get.
I know. I did that on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. Yo.
So, last but not least, this one's kind of a joke, but
Sure.
I'm being sort of serious. So,
okay.
We both agree that, like, there's not really 10 superstar quarterbacks in fantasy right now.
Maybe not even 5.
Yeah. So, there was a guy who was on a field and threw a 55-yard pass with ease during warm-ups. And he's owned in only 13% of leagues. Do you go and get Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, and this definitely comes back to your league settings, what you got. I think another guy similar to him was Deshaun Watson, and that guy was just kind of sitting out there, and it was kind of weird. And I think that guy was a really good pickup. But it really comes down to your roster, how your roster is built. That's what you're really looking at here. If you feel like you need to somehow do something at quarterback, so maybe you're a team like a Jalen Hurts owner, and I was this last season, where you have a guy that's spectacular like Hurts, but you just feel that risk for injury is there, and you need to have a high octane player there for if that guy goes down, considering that guy can basically get you 30 points a game and accounts for maybe a fourth of your fantasy points total for your team. So that's what it comes down to. Like, do you need a guy like that just in case something were to happen? Other than that, it's a risk. If you're looking at a middle tier team where you're like maybe a Jared Goff owner, ironically, I'm that as well. Am I going to pair Jared Goff with Aaron Rodgers? No. I'm going to have Jared Goff alongside someone else who can also start at a very consistent and has that high level potential, and I can count on. So for that, I had to go Will Levis, and there's no way I'm letting Will Levis just slide off of waivers that week that he went off against Atlanta. So it's weird. It's a very weird scenario, and it comes down to roster construction. So that's what you're looking at with getting a guy like Aaron Rodgers. The other thing too is you have to be considerate of he will take away a roster spot, or does this work in the way where you pull a little shenanigans, which is totally possible with more teams on buys weeks have passed. That's where it becomes interesting. What you can do is, as long as Aaron Rodgers still has an O or an IR next to his name, the sneaky way to go about this is pick him up and immediately throw him on the IR. What that does then is, for your bench, it opens up that spot again. So you're basically getting 2 players for the price of 1, but you have to be sneaky about it. So really, that is the determining factor. If you have the ability to sneak in an acquisition and then immediately throw him on the IR, that is how you do it. That's no debate.
Boom. All right. I didn't know you were going to take it that serious, but you did, because you're Steve Metrics.
I'm Steve Metrics. That's how I build my roster every week. Unfortunately, this season isn't going that way, but I really want to go deep later at some point and really focus on building your roster top to bottom, not just the 7 to 8 guys you put out there, but the whole 16 to 15 guys on your team. I think they all truly make a difference, and that allows you to set up to really do some pick and plug and play for your roster, not just the best 7 guys. You're like, yep, that's who I drafted, 7. Don't think about the others. I think you have a real potential that if you build your team correctly, you can do a plug and play and optimize the most amount of points each and every week.
Yeah. Well, hey, We got to do some picks for the week.
Let's do some picks.
We should probably rapid fire these because
let's rapid fire. Let's go.
Long.
We're coming up on the hour mark, but you know what? It's a great show tonight, so we had to do it.
Yeah, we're having fun. All right,
absolutely.
Carolina at Chicago is Thursday night football.
Thursday night football, Carolina at Chicago. Boy, this is a weird one. I honestly kind of almost want to be the contrarian and just all of a sudden take Carolina. Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll take Carolina.
You're not the contrarian because I'm taking Carolina. Carolina's actually really, really good against the pass, and Chicago can't run the football. So Carolina's got this.
Ironically, I'm sticking with the Steve Wilkes defense from last year. That's why I'm doing it.
Hey, that works. Another game that probably doesn't matter, Indianapolis at New England.
Indianapolis at New England. At the end of the day, I'm just going to take the firepower, and I just know how Indianapolis can go toe-to-toe with anyone regardless, and regardless how bad that defense is, I'll take Indy.
Yeah, New England's horrible.
Yep. That's why I took Washington last week.
This is
it's like the same matchup. It's the same matchup.
It really is.
Yeah.
So this one's actually going to be really, really fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch this. Houston at Cincinnati.
Houston at Cincinnati. So this is cool. I'm with you on this. This is exactly what I said, where if Cincinnati gets up on you, you can probably win a game unless that team has a lot of firepower. Houston's got a lot of firepower. I'll take Houston this week.
Ooh, okay. So we're different. Cincinnati's on a roll, so they're at home, so I'm just going to go with Cincinnati, just being at home.
They are, but man, seeing a scary defense like Houston changes things. I think putting Burrow under duress, and that happened. Yes, he was hurt, but if you put Burrow under duress, he does become a different player, and I think the Texans can absolutely do that.
Nice. On to another game that I guess no one's probably going to be watching. New Orleans at Minnesota.
Whoa, no one's watching that? I love that game. I actually watched New Orleans this last week, and I saw a lot of really cool Taysom Hill stuff. And Minnesota, even as banged up as they are across two receivers and a quarterback, they're still playing really good football. So that's a really cool game. That's a game that I like. This game is at Minnesota. Yeah, I'll take New Orleans.
Yep, I'm going New Orleans too. As a Packer fan, I'm done with Minnesota. I think we can catch them.
Oh, that's interesting. I'll have to shoot you a certain commercial I saw the other day that 100% guarantees the prediction I've brought up to you in the past, and they actually brought it to a live TV screen, and it exists.
Ooh, exciting!
Yeah.
Speaking of, Green Bay at Pittsburgh.
Green Bay at Pittsburgh. If this game has Kenny Pickett, do we know, is Kenny Pickett going to play? Because I always hear these things where Kenny Pickett's not going to play, and then all of a sudden, an hour or two before the game, he's like, "Yep, he's going out there."
Let me go and click here really quick because I have no idea, to be honest.
Yeah, that's where I'm putting everything on. If Pickett plays, Pittsburgh. If Pickett doesn't, I'll take Green Bay.
Where's Kenny Pickett? I mean, we're really good against Mitchell Trubisky, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, I just don't think that guy can do it anymore as a star. I think he's in the wrong city. I think Mitch should go back to Buffalo.
It says he's gonna take aim to play next week, so
yeah, I'll take Pickett.
But I mean, that was a couple days ago, so that was the last update. I'm not really sure, but
yeah, I think at this point you gotta put Mike Tomlin as one of the best coaches in the entire NFL. Definitely coach of the year. How that team is 5-3 is just miraculous, and if they can really make Deontay Johnson and George Pickens work, is this game in Pittsburgh too?
It is.
Yeah, I'll take Pittsburgh.
All right, I'm not just being a homer on this one. Pittsburgh is literally the second worst defense in the NFL. And I know the worst defense in the NFL was Denver, and we lost to Denver, but we do have Aaron Jones back. Busted on all cylinders, not just like out there periodically. So I'm going to go with Green Bay just because of Aaron Jones.
Okay. Yeah, I love potentially all pieces. Jalen Warren just looks like an absolute warrior these days. And man, they got Pat Fryermuth. They got some guy who plays in the slot who I don't even know who he is, and he actually makes some really big plays downfield. They got weapons. The biggest thing with them is if they got Pickett and that guy's got time, that's the guy.
They are literally the second worst defense in the NFL.
And they're 5-3.
Do you know that they are the only team in like the history of football to basically be outgained every single game and still they're 5-3?
Yeah, it's insane. This is why I've always regarded as Mike Tomlin as one of the best coaches in the NFL. Now he's truly showing that. It is incredibly impressive how bad they are playing at football and winning games. That's phenomenal.
Speaking of bad football, Tennessee at Tampa Bay.
I mean, after last week, it's so weird. Like now I just feel like almost every single AFC team, except for maybe a couple of teams in the AFC East, are really good. I think it's almost the entire AFC is solid. And I'll take Tennessee. I think this is totally a bounce back game from after what they just saw against Pittsburgh and give them a little more experience. Tampa was in a shootout for sure, but this is an interesting team. I think Tennessee is going to give them problems in a different kind of way than what Houston did.
Yeah, I'm going to go Tennessee as well. Like Tampa Bay is kind of a dumpster fire.
They're done.
I have no idea what's happening. I thought Kyle
they have
Trask
no identity.
Take over at some point. Mike Evans is still just going to get 1,000 yards. I just don't understand that team.
Yeah, they have no quarterback. They have Mike Evans. They have Rashad White, and they have a defense that kind of stops the run, kind of doesn't, and apparently you can pretty much just throw on them regardless.
Yeah, they're the fourth worst defense in the NFL. So who knows?
Yeah, that's. Totally. That is a team that I think they're going to try to flip the page. And as much as I like what Bruce Arians had built there and put that foundation in place, I think that whole regime is going to get let go.
Nice. I mean, a couple weeks ago, I would have said this is the Super Bowl preview, but now I have no idea. San Francisco at Jacksonville.
Boy, that is interesting. That is ironic. And now I think more than ever, I do have a lot of confidence that I think Jacksonville will end up being the best team to come out of the AFC for the Super Bowl. I stick by that. I have more confidence in that than I do on the NFC side, ironically. But with that being the case, there's a lot of question marks going on with San Francisco. So I just love the things that are going on with Jacksonville. I think this is a team coming off a bye as well. So they've had time to rest, prepare, really look at their mistakes. I like Jacksonville.
I like Jacksonville too. The only issue I have is like they're one of the worst teams against the pass, and they're one of the best teams against the run. And like
perfect.
That might bode well for San Francisco, but they make a lot of short passes that make up for runs, and I don't know. It seems like this could be a bounce back, sneaky San Francisco game, but I'm still going to go with Jacksonville.
Yeah, and I think too, I mean, it plays with the health of their left tackle. It plays with the health of Deebo Samuel. That definitely all is a factor, but that is a cause for concern with Jacksonville. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see how maybe a few more weeks go, and then I'll bring this up. I think there could be another sneaky team out of the AFC. But I think right now what I see, I like a lot of things that Jacksonville can improve on, but still has a ton of foundation built in place for that offense.
So the next game, this is probably going to be the most boring game ever on offense because we're talking the two best defensive teams in the NFL, Cleveland at Baltimore.
Boy, I like this. And I love seeing a healthy Deshaun Watson now. And this is squarely going to put me against you, I'm thinking. And now that I know Deshaun Watson's there and I got the rest of the Cleveland Brown components and I saw Baltimore play against Seattle, I know that was a blowout, but I don't know what in the world I saw. That was the worst looking blowout I've ever seen. Yeah, it's time. Cleveland needs to take hold of this division.
Well, let's hope so. They are going against the number 1 rush team in the NFL, number 6 offense in the NFL, and that's why I'm going with Baltimore.
And that's the thing too, is if Baltimore cannot do it on the ground, the only one who's really shown that they can succeed against Cleveland's rush defense, their front line, was Jonathan Taylor. If Baltimore cannot get to, honestly, 2 touchdowns, I don't think they win this game. I think they have to get to at least 1.
Exciting.
Yep.
See, and the crazy part is those are the top. They're the top 2 scoring defenses and the top 2 total yardage defenses. So, like, it's just going to be like a rock'em sock'em like fist fight. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we're going to need to really see more out of Lamar Jackson. And when it's come to passing, I've seen a lot of good things out of Lamar Jackson. But when they don't have him passing and then they take the ball out of his hand and they don't utilize the weapons that they have, like Zay Flowers, and I mean, yeah, they got Mark Andrews and it's doing things, but there still feels like an obvious missing component. Maybe it's not enough Devin Duvernay, I think. There's something weird about this offense that I don't like, and I don't like moving forward. And it's really upsetting because I think Zay Flowers is phenomenal. I think Lamar Jackson's playing the best passing style of his quarterback life to date. But why are we not seeing it in a tremendous fashion? I just want to see it in – it doesn't even have to be 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. If I can get 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and running production, that will be enough to really solidify that, you know what, this team's got all of it. They have everything. Right now, I see too much weird things on paper that makes them look like the best. But when I watch them live, I'm like, I can almost think of 10 teams that are better than what I'm seeing right here out of Baltimore. It is very bizarre.
See, it's so weird because I feel like the exact opposite. Like with Lamar, right? I just had to look this up because I was like, I'm pretty sure he's like solid. The dude he's got a 72% completion percentage. That is elite. And like, he doesn't give up the football very much. Yep. His passer rating is above 100. And then those rushing or those passing touchdowns we were talking about with CJ Stroud, like, yeah, he's at 9, but then he has 5 rushing touchdowns. And then Gus Edwards has 7 rushing touchdowns. And Gus Edwards doesn't even run the ball that much. I mean, he's getting like 50 yards a game, which is about where Lamar Jackson is too. And it's like the guy gets 50 yards a game, but he's also got a touchdown a game almost. And like, then you got to throw in, you know, Hill. And I know they just started using the Mitchell guy. And it's like, man, every running back has touchdowns except Melvin Gordon. We don't count. Oh, actually he does too. But they literally can just give it to anyone, and like one of those running backs just goes for 50 yards and a touchdown. And I don't know where you can stop them. They're so just dynamic because every running back is almost the same, but not.
Yes. Yeah. And I think the thing that I've noticed that you can deal with on offense is if basically Odell Beckham is not involved in the game at all, it significantly hampers Zay Flowers because then they put number 1 coverage on Zay and it shows. And then basically it's Mark Andrews, and Mark Andrews has to carry the entire weight of the passing game. And I think that will come back to bite them. I really do. When I look at these offensive weapons, I look across the AFC, I think Baltimore at the end of the day will have some of the worst for these top level teams. I like what Cincinnati has better than them. I like what Tennessee has. I like the Raiders. I like these teams that have more. I don't like Kansas City. Kansas City and Baltimore both being 7-2 is very bizarre. I see those teams. I know their odds to make the playoffs are tremendous, but I think they both have tremendous ability of falling flat, whether it's in the playoffs or just getting squeaked out of the playoffs. It is very weird how those teams play and how in the world they're 7-2. I don't get what's going on offense with either of those teams.
Well, they're 7-2 because they're the 2 best defenses in the NFL.
Bingo. Absolutely.
it's those two in Cleveland. Like, they're all basically identical, except Kansas City's better against the pass, and those two are better against the run. So
they are.
slightly.
Exactly. That's how it goes. And you can even say Cleveland's in that mix exactly as well, because they got weird things going on offense too. So it's a very weird bunch you have out of those three teams.
And I actually said that backwards, but they're the top three defenses in the NFL.
Oh, okay. Exactly. Yep.
But yeah, I feel bad because I keep saying this about a ton of games, but Atlanta versus Arizona.
Yikes. That's rough. But
Right.
that is really rough. But for those reasons, I'll take Atlanta. Atlanta's lost some really close games lately, and that is a better team than what we think, especially in their secondary. That's a great secondary they got. But yeah, Atlanta's going to win this game.
See, I'm going with Arizona just because Kyler Murray's back. I'm just like, whatever.
He's back?
Yeah, he's back this week.
Oh.
That's why they got rid of Josh Dobbs. Yeah.
Oh, this changes everything, man. That changes everything. Holy smokes. That is interesting. But the thing is, I'm going to stick with Atlanta because that secondary is solid. So, yeah, I'll stick with Atlanta.
Well, this game's just like, man, I don't care.
It's weird. Yeah. But that's the thing, too, is if Kyler can really sling it, and he can, if he extends and stretches the safeties on that team, that's definitely a way that you can play into that secondary of Atlanta that's so stout. If you can spread them out, they don't keep up with the speed.
Right. This next game could be pretty interesting. Detroit at the Chargers.
That is interesting. So the Chargers are playing better, but they're still constrained by the Justin Herbert injury. So for that, I'm going to go with Detroit.
So I'm picking the Chargers. So Detroit is really, really good against the run. They're the second best rush defense in the league, which means they're kind of bad against the pass. And the Chargers, I know Herbert's going to be a little limited, but like they can still light you up. So I'm going with the Chargers.
Yeah, and with what you're pointing out there about being stout against the run, the whole thing with the Chargers now is that offense. Yes, Herbert is huge and a great quarterback and is constrained by his finger, but really to see that offense really take off and have a shot at winning any football games, it's Eckler. If Austin Eckler is doing his thing, that's how they win. If he's not, then they probably lose. And with what you said, I think Detroit can lock him down, and I'll take Detroit.
Why am I? Oh, my gosh. I could not figure out where the Chargers ranked against the pass. They're dead last. They're dead last.
Totally. Yeah, just look at them and the Miami Dolphins and the Denver Broncos. I think we're now at the point where we can just memorize these secondaries that are terrible. Put Arizona in there. It's pretty obvious who is bad at covering the pass.
Yeah, here's another game that everyone's going to watch. The Giants at Dallas.
Boy, this is a prequel to who I will be talking about, who needs to get let loose and just do damage based off of what I saw this past week. So for that, 100%, I'm taking Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas.
Simple.
This next one is Washington at Seattle.
The way that I'm seeing Washington play these days, I'm going to stick with them. I will stick with Washington. I don't know what's going on with Seattle. Granted, this is a trip cross country, but Geno Smith is bad. He is just a bad quarterback. I've been saying that ever since last season when he won the comeback player of the year. I feel like with a guy like that, does he have to give back the trophy after being comeback player and now not being good? Like he has to be the give back player of the year. I think that's the way it goes. So I'm taking Washington. Maybe. 800 yards out of Sam Howell in 2 weeks. I'll take Howell.
Yeah, I guess I'm going Seattle just because when a team starts selling off pieces on their defense, which was their strong point, I
Yep.
can't really. I probably won't pick Washington to win another game.
Maybe that could be the case. I mean, New England's really, really bad, but
I haven't checked their schedule, but like you just can't sell off the two best pieces on your entire team, offense or defense, and then expect me to like you.
yeah. And I forgot exactly where this game was played. I think this game was played in Baltimore, but I essentially saw Seattle just quit against Baltimore, just flat out quit. And I know how teams are against Lamar, but that was an embarrassment from that team.
Well, all right. I'm going to take your Washington and one up you in embarrassment.
There you go.
They beat New England by 3. They got beat up by Philly. They only scored 7 against the Giants. They lost to Chicago. Yeah, nope, can't. Washington can go away.
That's no debate.
Right. Those are some of the worst teams in the league. They just got pummeled by.
That's true. That is totally true. I don't know how all of a sudden they're flicking that switch and they're turned on, but they still have options across the board. I think their offense to me now is definitely a lot scarier than Seattle's. I think these are still two very defensive oriented teams. And for that, I think Washington has a better offense than Seattle. So that's my reasoning for them over Seattle.
Nice. The Jets at the Raiders.
At this point, just win, baby. Raiders.
Oh, okay. Well, all right.
Yeah, it's considering what we just did to the Giants, the Jets are barely an upgrade from the Giants.
See, the only reason I have to go with the Jets is because like their defense is so good, and like the Raiders are like Aiden O'Connell was not good. Like
What do you mean against the Giants?
Yeah, he like the Giants are horrible, and he didn't wow me like I
That's
thought
fine.
he would.
He
was gonna like blow up.
He definitely wowed me with some of those deep throws, and he definitely wowed me with the incomplete pass that was like an all-out blitz with a teardropper that Jacoby Myers just didn't come down with. But the way our team is rolling, the way our offense is, the way the culture is, whoever that play caller is for my Raiders, that guy needs to be the highest paid offensive coordinator in the NFL. That guy dialed up a game plan. The stuff he had running, the jet sweeps with Myers, and I think even Adams ran one. There is something special going on with that team. And Aiden O'Connell brings that confidence. He has that hot arm. He has that firepower. He's absolutely going to do some damage. And the good thing is too is this team knows what to expect against the Jets. The Jets are an excellent secondary. So that means don't look outside, look in, focus on Michael Mayer, focus on Hunter Renfrow. And if it's Jacoby Myers or Devontae Adams in the slot, that's who you go with. Whoever is outside, leave them. Like, they're not going to produce. Who did the damage against the Jets yesterday? Keelan Allen and Gerald Everett. That's what it takes. When you're throwing the ball against the Jets, hit those inside pieces and let your running back go to town. And they cannot stop Josh Jacobs. They will not. That guy is going to go on an absolute tear like he just did against the Giants.
See, I agree with the Josh Jacobs thing, but just like Aiden O'Connell was just meh. He was solid. He was like a solid game manager. And I feel like against the Jets, like they're obviously a way better defense than the Giants. So like he could do that against the Giants, and the Jets probably aren't going to allow that.
But the Jets aren't going to score points. That they can't stop the pass rush that is going to come at them with Max Crosby and 3 of his friends. It is a fast-moving defense, and their run game is pathetic. They cannot run the ball. I know we've had trouble against it, but we just went up against Saquon Barkley. Barkley is better than both Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook almost combined. So it's just not a good-looking team. I don't know what's going on with the Jets right now. Obviously, it's no quarterback, but that is a team that is hurting for points. They just cannot score points. They can score a few more points than the Giants, but not much. I think they might, at best, I think they can get 13.
I mean, this is the same team a couple of weeks ago that did beat Philly, though. So they've got it in them.
They do have it in them, but it is bizarre, and that was a very, very bizarre game to make that happen. But how did they make it happen? They made it happen through turnovers. If the Raiders don't turn over the ball, they win that game for sure. That's exactly how the Jets win. They will beat you from a nasty game you don't want to play, and you turning the ball over and them getting very, very short field position. That's what it takes. I don't see the Jets doing that.
Aiden O'Connell has more interceptions than he does touchdowns right now. Just a heads up.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, he's barely had any playing time whatsoever, but he is the number one quarterback on the team. And boy, did he look good.
I knew I would get you riled up by picking
You would. But I'll tell you flat out, we can go toe-to-toe with anyone. I would not be surprised if we, at worst, split with the Chiefs. That's coming, man. That is a team I have no fear of that team anymore with what we got.
I'm excited about this.
Mm-hmm.
So then we're on the Monday Night Football game, Denver at Buffalo.
Oh my goodness. This is a weird game. Actually, I wish this game were in Denver. If this game were really in Denver, I think I would totally take the Denver Broncos in this. And that's weird. That is really, really weird. So, boy, this is interesting. So Denver played against Mahomes, and they really took care of him. But the thing is that the Bills actually have really good wide receivers, and the Chiefs don't. So it was all Travis Kelce. I don't think they can stop that. I think they can maybe stop Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, or I think Knox is already hurt. So I think they're going to have trouble against either Gabe Davis or Diggs or both. So for those reasons, I'm taking Buffalo.
So I have to take Buffalo because defensively, Denver is the second worst when giving up points. They give up 28 points a game.
Yet they beat
Buffalo
Kansas City.
Can score. They can score a little bit. And they also are a top 5 team when in points allowed. So like their defense is pretty solid. They don't give up points and they score points, and Denver gives up points and doesn't score points. So I can't go with Denver.
I mean, this kind of brings up an interesting point where if Buffalo were to play Kansas City, and let's say Buffalo wins the turnover margin against Kansas City, I just feel like that game wouldn't be close then. I think Buffalo just has more offensive firepower, has the defensive legitimacy of Kansas City, but ultimately these quarterbacks are the same, whether it's Russell Wilson, Mahomes, or Josh Allen. They're all really like they have firepower, but they have massive turnover ability, and they have massive ability to flop all of a sudden. So that's the weirdness that comes out of this game.
Agreed. But yeah,
cool.
That's the last one. What do you got for us?
Oh, what do I got for us? So I definitely got us some waivers, and I love the Devin Singletary play that you brought up. That I think that makes a ton of sense. That is definitely a guy you got to go out there, especially the running back position, which is a hard one to fill. And then going to the South, going to those Arizona Cardinals that you bring up, if you can get Kyler Murray, that is a massive upgrade at quarterback. So totally take that kind of guy if you can get him. The guy that I like, who I've been kind of keeping my eye on now for the last few weeks, is in Minnesota. And what I really like there is Brandon Powell. Not only did he fill in for Justin Jefferson going down, now he's definitely filling in for KJ Osborne going down. So even without Kirk Cousins, this is a kind of player in this offense that still is putting up good points. The defense is playing better. I like what's going on there. So Powell is definitely a guy I like, and you can get him in a ton of leagues. And then your team, the Baltimore Ravens, that running back who I don't even know the guy's name, but he put up 2 touchdowns this past week. He's available in like 100% leagues. Go get that guy. You know how Baltimore runs the ball. That's probably your number one pick, I think, off of waivers.
Let him cook! Let him cook! I said let him cook!
So that brings up the most bona fide player of the week. That is not necessarily a player coming off of waivers. That player in this matchup against a team that is just dreadful, and considering how they just let Josh Jacobs just gut him, Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard is the guy against a New York Giants team that is just getting crushed on all aspects of the ball. This is the week that Pollard owners who have been really hurt by everything he's done outside of week 1, this is the week where you really got to get your dividends paid.
Boom.
That's
no debate. Ah, look at that. We did it at the same time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Boom. Same time, bud. That's how you do it. I love it, man. That's a great show. Let's wrap this up. What game you got?
Ooh, I forgot. I don't know. Dun, dun, dun. Where are we? You know what? I think this will do.
Sure.
Let's flip our camera.
Oh. Is that the first official Madden game?
1999.
Interesting. That is really interesting. I don't think I actually had 99. I think I had 2000. And I would actually always play in the AFC. I would always play with the AFC All-Star team. I thought that team was just stupid loaded, whether you could go with Dan Marino at quarterback or go with Doug Flutie. And sometimes I'd play with the team, sometimes I'd play against them. And I would basically go Doug Flutie to Eric Moulds. That was the combo, man. Yeah, and there it is. Yes, that is the one I played. Yes, sir. That is Madden 2000. I'm telling you, that AFC team is stupid, insanely good.
Nice. Look at that.
The Brett Favre side in the NFC is okay, but the AFC side is like the AFC of today. It's stacked.
Look at that. We got a 2-for-1 today.
Twofer for the price of one. There you go. We made up for yesterday's show. So that's how we do it. That's no debate.
That makes sense.
Booyah. So with that, with the belt, with me going green, going with the Buck stuff, and I love always pairing basketball with Marvin the Martian, the ref from Space Jam. So that's my boy. Yeah. That's Marvin. Got to go with him.
He's legit.
He is. He's a total great guy, and yeah, he's a pretty cool belt. It pops.
Sweet.
So good stuff, man. So there you go. That's our show. And you can always catch us both. We will both be here every Monday, Tuesday, and you will see us here at 7 o'clock Central. That is on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. You will find us here. And let us know. Let us know what you see. Let us know what you want us to cover more of. If there's some more fantasy football questions, if there's some more basketball questions, whatever you want us to cover and go deep into, whatever kind of research we can dig up. We'll be building more analytical models moving forward that we can play with and we can play with live. Those are all things we want to work with, and we can bring up those sites and talk about them as well. So let us know. Hit us up on the comments. Hit us up on social media. We'll be dropping more stuff throughout the week like we always do for the rest of the week. So be sure to hit us up on all these platforms and let us know what you think. So that's everything we got. I think that's a show, Triggs.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. Yeah, I mean, we'll both be here as long as one of us isn't dying,
That's
like
true.
me yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, it happened to me a few weeks ago too. So I've been there.
Yeah, that's the fun.
Cool. So with that, yeah, I'm Steve Metrics. That's your boy,
DJ Triggs.
And together we are No Debate Sports.